Welcome back. I know we touched on it when we were talking about what occurred in Chicxulub, but what are some links to other natural hazards emanating from impacts themselves? Not surprisingly, tsunamis, if impact is in water, wildfires from ejected material or heat of impact, earthquakes, impact creates shock waves, mass wasting, all of this trembling and shaking can cause mass wasting, landslides, etc. Climate change, all the debris thrown up into the atmosphere, cause climate change. It can trigger volcanic eruptions, crustal melting, mantle instability, crustal instability, creating all these eruptions. Yeah, so I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Impacts, I mean, it's not just the one thing. So it continues. Well, that's all for that section, but for the sake of brevity, or for sake of time, let's not just waste all of the rest of what we have. So we'll go in through one more section. So that was section 4. Here's section 5. So what are some of the impacts on society? Like, what would we see? What would we face? What kind of danger do we face from impacts? So here's just a little list, on average, of odds of death. So this isn't a fun list, but it is what it is. So you have a 1 in 3 chance of dying from cancer. That's no fun. You have a 1 in 1. So if you get cancer, you have a 1 in 3 shot of dying. In a car crash, you will die 1 out of every 100 times. In fires, 1 out of 250. Murders, 1 in 1,000 people dies from murders. On average, so this is globally. It's globally. So globally, 1 in 20,000 people die in earthquakes, 1 in 60,000 in tornadoes, 1 in 77,000 people die in elevator accidents, which you're more likely to die in an elevator than you are from a volcanic eruption. 1 in 80,000 people tend to die in volcanic eruptions. Floods, 1 in 118,000 globally. Lightning, 1 in 135,000. So mass wasting, 1 in 160,000. A dog attack, 1 in 260,000 people die from dog attacks, which is much more a better odds of dying from a dog than it is from a tsunami. 1 in 500,000. A plane crash, you have a 1 in 5 million odds of dying in a plane crash. You're welcome. Remember, you have a 1 in 100 chance in a car crash. Better odds in a plane, turns out. Shark attack, 1 in 8 million. Watch out for that. And then winning the Powerball, winning the big lottery, you have a 1 in 195 million chance. You're more likely to do all of this before you ever win the lottery. But where are deaths for humans kind of on this scale from meteorites or asteroids? So where does that land? Where do you think that lands in here? Give you a second to ponder that. Do you think you're more likely to die from like a meteorite or asteroid than a volcano? Is it up here? You're pretty likely. Is it way down here? Lottery style? Right there. Right there. So you have a 1 in 700,000 shot of dying from a meteorite or asteroid impact. Looking at globally historical throughout time, and then the fact that if there was a large event, all of humanity would die. So if you average all that out, you have about a 1 in 700,000 shot of dying from a meteorite or asteroid impact. So you're more likely to get hit by a meteorite and die than you are to die in a plane crash. So don't be scared of a plane. Be scared of meteorites. You'd probably be hit with 11 meteorites before you get killed by a shark attack. And you would probably get hit. The odds are of you getting hit with a meteorite and dying 278 times before you would win the Powerball, before you would win the lottery. You see what kind of odds the lottery is? But so what I'm trying to say is, there are things that are more dangerous and less dangerous, or to be more concerned about or less concerned about than asteroid impacts. But we have a whole, small section, the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, part of the government, that specifically focus on planes and avoiding them crashing. So the fact that we have meteorite or asteroid impact has much better odds of issues or deaths related from that, or injuries or some sort of destruction from that. Wouldn't it be wise that we also have some government agency looking at these things? And we do. More on that in a little bit. So as far as actual deaths in recorded history, there's been one. There's been one documented death in 1888 in Turkey. Archives in the country of Turkey. There was information from someone being killed in Iraq. There's documents that they found in Turkey of this person in Iraq that was killed by a falling meteorite. They don't have the actual meteorite itself, but the documentation is extremely convincing. So there's been one documented death from an impact. So then where does that 1 in 700,000 comes from? Well, again, looking at historical information, and if there were to be a large event, looking at the odds of how often meteorites or asteroids come, that would kind of give you those odds, because it would kill everyone on Earth. And anyway, that's where that number comes from. So there's been one confirmed death so far. The only other confirmed direct strike of a meteorite is from a woman named Ann Hodges. She was napping on her couch in 1954. The meteorite came through the roof, hit her on the hip. The actual meteorite was retrieved. It was confirmed to be a meteorite. It was extraterrestrial in origin. Hodges survived, and it was that lady that I had mentioned in a previous section. So hit right on the hip there. That's a good little shot. It's a good little shot. So what do we do? How do we minimize the impacts? The impact that this hazard has, no pun intended. How do we minimize that hazard? As mentioned, maybe we should have that government entity looking at this to prepare, to look out for these things. So when we come back, we'll talk about that, minimizing the hazard associated with impacts. See you back here in just a second.